Okay.
Dear participants, welcome to our Digital Friday. The topic of today's webinar is how to boost the customer engagement with data-driven strategies in EC and SCRM. I'm Sybil from the Corporate Development team. First of all, on behalf of Fabernovel, I would like to introduce our keynote speaker today, Shan, who is the director of our tech department of Fabernovel. I would like to give the mic to Yan to start our sharing session.
Thank you, Sybil. Hello, everybody. I'm Yan. I'm the Tech Division Director of Fabernovel China. So today, what we are sharing is when setting up consumer engagement strategies, how we can use data to empower our decision making, or to reference, or even to validate. Before we start, I'll probably take a minute just to briefly introduce myself. I have a data-related work experience for about 9 to 10 years. Started with big data consulting, working for a few international auto companies. Then I move on to e-commerce data consulting. That's probably mostly on the consumer side. Then I move on to digital transformation and also data tech development. But also with the development, there are a lot of data analysis and data tagging, data system creation jobs around it together. So today we are going to, in this presentation, I'm going to introduce, because there are too many things to talk about, right? So today we'll be focusing on data. So I will, in my topics, I will cover maybe what the key drivers are for setting up consumer engagement strategies, and how to set the goals based on data findings, and also in terms of performance tracking, what can we do? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to probably use a couple of scenarios to get this content easy going, right? So first of all, we start with identify the key elements. When we're setting up consumer engagement strategies, normally these are the elements we will look like, right? So first of all, what's the goal? I think for e-commerce environment, probably the goals are pretty straightforward. That's just for certain sales campaign or even routine sales. What's the conversion rates? What's the GMV we get to achieve? That's probably a very relatively easy to set a goal in the EC environment. But in social CRM environments, the goals can be really various, right? Because the environment's different, channels different, the purpose, the campaign purpose are different. But before, even in social CRM environment, before there's some campaign or something, there has to be a goal to be set. So secondly is who you are really targeting. Who are the key target audience you are looking at. So the more focused you are, probably, the better result can come back. And then what we look at the data sources. In EC environment, then there are just two different probably type of data sources. If we are using like e-commerce platforms like Tmall, Taobao, or JD, in most cases, the data are provided by the platform. Right? There are certain data tools like data bank provided by Alibaba, and and also something we call like Shan or strategy center. So those are provided by the platform. But if you are running your own e-commerce, let's say WeChat shops or maybe e-commerce websites, the data sources will be from your own source. Then if we look at on the social CRM side, the data sources can be really various. It can come from different platforms, can be from different tools like Google Analytics or like WeData, or can be from the system's own backend. When you do a development, there are some mechanism to be built in for collecting data and store the data. And then we look at engagement channels. In the EC environment, the engagement channels are probably, with the platforms, you have a certain ways to engage with the consumers. You have a search function, you have like homepage displays, you have different channels to engage with. And in social environments, there are also all variants of engagement channels. So before you set up strategy, you have to be clear on what channels are actually suitable for what kind of audience. So in this case, with the data reference, you can actually identify the most effective channels for segmented consumer target audience group. And then what we need to look at, we need to look at for the campaigns or even for e-commerce, what are the incentives? These are more like the tools or the bullets we can have in terms of the promotions or, for the recruitment, all that. So maybe in some cases, you have like probably coupons, you have discounts, you have member benefits, all that. So these are the bullets. So probably, before you start planning, you can have, you have a look what you have. And lastly is the time and budget. Time and budget is more like, the period you have, especially in EC environments, and what kind of advertising budget you have. And also in social environments, in a lot of cases those are like in retainer services. So you have a kind of like a fixed budget each month, but also you are running campaigns. So in terms of campaign, you would know like how long the campaign is, from the campaign starting until, from now until campaign starting, how long the preparation time we have, and with what kind of budget, how to do recruitment, how to take people from the recruitment. So these are the time and budget we need to bear in mind with setting up strategies. Then very quickly on typical data sources. This is not covered by EC, it's more like a social. So with EC, as I said, most data, if we're using EC platforms, most data sources are provided by the platform. But in the social environment, we can have a marketing data, we have a traffic source data, we can have our own channels data from backend. So the data are for different purposes, right? So it depends on the goal of the job. So you can actually take data from various places and then to choose the one who can, which can help you the most, but which I'll describe later. Okay, back to the main topic. Segmentation actually is a foundation of success. It's in both EC and social environment, social CRM environment. Because I think one of the core purpose of having a social CRM is actually to be able to segment people. So instead of, we have just one budget and one line of message to advertise or broadcast to all the audience, with social CRM, you can actually, allocate the budget or the stories, having different stories targeting different kind of people to either provide better services or better content or better engagement. So segmentation actually is the foundation. So now I'm probably going to talk about how we're going to using some scenarios to do a little bit deep dive on both EC and the social CRM environment. So with the EC scenario, normally, as I said, the EC scenario, they are highly focused on sales conversion. So to start with, before we start, in the EC environment, normally people look at three things. First one is who are my target audience? Secondly is what product to be sold to different target audience groups. And the third one is what channels are the segmented groups like, because the different segment group may have a different favorite channels. So which channels can fit the most? So the purpose actually to match the audience, the products, and the channels together. So there is a strategy for that. And then the bestly, I mean, to do all of this is actually to make the best allocation of your budget. So normally, because you also have a budget, right? I mean, what to do. So it's best to allocate the budget to make the best conversion. Okay, in the EC platform environment, there are two things I want to introduce which are key for success. First one is the AIPL model. This is the target audience consumer segmentation model mostly used in the EC environment. AIPL stands for awareness, interest, purchase, and loyalty. And also, but there's a O, also like an opportunity level before the AIPL, but we're starting from A. So with the awareness, more normally in the definition will be like when your advertisement actually reach those people. So you select a group of people and you actually, you kind of engage with them. So when those people receive the advertisement, they are categorized as the A people, A group people. Then if they show any kind of interest, they click on the ad, or even they add something to cart or the response to the advertisement, they become the interest group of people. And then after that, someone make a purchase, they become the P group people. And then if they make a repeat purchase, they become a loyal customer. But they are like kind of different level of definitions. But in general, these are the definitions of the AIPL model. Okay, so once you know the AIPL model, and then you separate people into different groups, and then just imagine right now we have a campaign that let's say 6/18 campaign, sales campaign is coming up right next month. So what do we do? Now actually it's a kind of May. It's a bit late already, but I'm just using that as an example. So so now a big campaign is coming up, right? Probably in 2 months. And then what do we do? So we have probably we have a GMV target. So for this campaign, we want to reach certain level of GMV, and also we have a budget on our investment. You know, investment in the advertisement, like on-site investment. You know, the money we pay to Ali or to JD for this campaign to reach this GMV target. So actually, with the separation of the groups using the tools provided by Ali or by JD, they can actually allocate the sales, the sales history, all the data and the figures into these AIPL groups. So now we have some data in hand. We can actually look at different groups separately. You know, what kind of contribution they can provide in helping to reach this GMV target. And then we can have a GTA model, which is like a GMV to IPL model, actually to help us to allocate the GMV target, and also at the same time to have analysis on whether this advertising budget for this campaign is enough or not enough. Next page, I'm going to just give you a quick example to help you to understand this. Okay, the example is, first of all, let's say for this coming up campaign, we have a total GMV target of 10 million RMB. Okay, then from the historical data, we have analysis, right? Then we can identify data. So for the new customers, which like the A group and the I group, they normally, from history data, they contribute 40% of total GMV, of total sales. So in this case, there will be like a 4 million RMB allocated to them. And also for the existing customers who already made purchase or made repeat purchase, the P and L people, they contribute 60%. So to allocate the 10 million RMB target, so they have allocation of 6 million. Okay, now if we just look at the new customers, also from the historical data, we can have a look at, you know, we have a understanding of normally the A group people. So people receive advertisement, then they just directly go to purchase. They contribute probably 30%. So then the 4 million target allocated to them is 1.2 million. And then with the I people, they contribute 70% compared with the A people, together. So they have an allocation of 2.8 million RMB budget target. Okay, then we also, from the data analysis, we can understand the normal conversion rate for both A and I group are like 2%. So we have 2% of people will just make a purchase. And also the average transaction value is for A people is 1,000 RMB, and for I people probably it's more because this is the example, right? Let's say 2 million RMB. So with this calculation, we can see for the A group people, if we want to achieve 1.2 million RMB sales target, we need to recruit 60,000 people in this pool, right? So this is a new recruitment target we need to have. And then for the I people, we have a new recruitment target of 70K. And then if we know the average cost for the recruitment, let's say for the A people is 5 RMB per person, and then for I people is 10 RMB per person. And then we have a total budget allocation for the A group people is 300K RMB to be able to achieve the 1.2 million RMB target. And for the I people is 700K RMB to achieve the 2.8 million RMB target. Okay, so this is on the left-hand side. Now, if we look at the existing customers, the P and L people, P people and L people, from the historical data, we can find our existing customer base. For the P volume, we have about 10,000 customers, and for L, we have 5,000. A normal conversion rate for P is 6%, for L is 8%, and the average transaction value is 5K for P group people, and 5K, also 5K for the L group of people. Okay, and then with this historical data, and also with the existing sales target, with the normal conversion rate, with the 10K people conversion rate 6% and 5,000 RMB, in a natural environment, they will have a contribution of 3 million RMB. And for our group people, they will have contribution of 2 million RMB, which means that if we have an average advertising cost of 25 for both P and L, we need about 200K RMB for the P people to do the conversion, and we need 100K RMB for the L people to do the conversion. So now we add up, we have even before, by only knowing the total GMV target for this campaign period or say sales period, without having anything else, from the existing data analysis, we have an initial budget estimation of 1.3 million RMB to be able to achieve. But hang on a minute, now we can see to add 4 million to 3 million and 2 million, the total is only 9 million RMB. It's not reaching the target, which means that now we know if we spend 1.3 million budget on this campaign or on this sales, we can only achieve 9 million RMB target. So we have a GMV gap of 1 million RMB. So what do we do with it? Then if you look at the new customers and existing customers, these are the two different strategies. So let's say we have actually we can if let's say we have a budget, it's actually more than 1.3 million, then that's good. I mean, we can use the extra budget to either allocate to on the left hand side to the new customers to recruit more people to help to increase, let's say from 4 million RMB to 5, then we can reach the total GMV target, or we can use the money on the right hand side for the existing customers. But in this will be a different strategy. It's not to recruit anymore because these are already existing customers. It's actually to increase their average transaction value, probably from 5K to 6K to 7K, to be able to reach the 6 million RMB target. So this is an example I'm giving just to help you to probably have a more idea on how the GMV gap calculated and how we can use data actually to help us with the budget planning, with the reaching, how to reach the GMV target. Right. So next, I'm going to talk about, where to, just a brief glance on the data, how we can help with the different identifications, right? How we use the data to segment people. So on one side, with the tools, you can actually have demographic consumer allocation, right? So these are like gender, age, the city tier, level of consumptions. These are kind of standard offering from the platforms. And also the platforms will also provide some tags, but the tags are relatively generic. So for example, for the fashion industry, they have probably 7 or 8 tags. It's more like the persona of different segment groups. And that's on the consumer side. Secondly, on the product side, we can actually, based on the historical data, we can see with the different segment groups, what are the favorite products they want to buy, and also from the properties of the product itself, either it's for man or for woman, what's the price range, and also the design of the products, whether it's trendy, more favorable for the young people, or either it's a more business look for business people and all that. So with all of this, we can actually allocate to match the product into different consumer groups. Then after that, we can actually have an engagement strategy with the consumer, with the historical sales data. Actually, we can identify who are the core consumer segment group. In this example, as we can see, is high net worth individuals. They are the core consumer groups. But not only that, we can also use the historical sales data to identify who are the potential group. It's more like, which we call it more group. So with these people, they are not the best-selling, consumer segment yet, but they have a rapid growth, which probably they can surprise us, during the sales period. So once we identified the core group and the more group, we can actually have their demographic properties. We can also study, what are their favorite products and what are their favorite engagement channels on the platforms. Then we can just do a different strategies with the different time frequency and all that to engage with them. Okay, so just a quick summary on the EC side. So back to the key drivers, right? So first of all, we have the goals. With the EC environment, the goal normally is just to achieve GMV target, right? It's highly focused with all the data ready. And then with the key target segments, we are targeting the core group and the more group, these two segments. And the data sources, in most cases, there will be EC data tools, for example, data bank, Shan and the strategy center, something like that. And also, if you are running your own data, your own e-commerce, your own platform CMS, can if that's already been developed inside, so you can actually get data from there to actually allocate consumer into their different life cycles. The engagement channels is normally on-site advertising, but here also with this, I also want to mention ECRM. ECRM now is widely used by a lot of more clients on EC channels, not only to provide more services to their consumers, to engage with them and to build a customer loyalty. And also with the ECRM system, you can actually extract more data right? Not normally because the data are kind of held, like personalized in the more granular data are held by the platform. But with the ECRM, you will be able to extract more data to your own system, so which is become more valuable to brands, right? And also the incentives. With the on-site advertising, we can do promotions, we can run, discounts, we can provide coupons to the consumers. But with the ECRM, not only coupons, we can also have some, like member benefits. If you sign, you have maybe extra service, personalized service, all that. So that's actually it's more tools for you to use to engage with consumers. And lastly is the time and budget. The timing normally with the ECRM, with the e-commerce environment, normally a big planning happened just before the big sales seasons. But on the side, normally people will also do a routine planning. But big cases are always happening before the sales season. Lastly, we're talking briefly on how to measure the performance. But with the platforms, these are also highly identical, right? So you know what channels you are. I mean, you probably in most cases you start with the channels, and then you monitor people by segments on their performance within those channels. And then you can identify which channels has the best conversion, which one has the worst conversion, if there's a problem, and then you can do some simple twist, either by changing the frequency or changing the product. You can probably see some kind of improvement very easily, right? So because it's a highly controlled environment, so it's actually easy to manage and observe. But if it's a non-sales period, normally you can just do a monthly measurement. But if during the sales period, it's a daily, it can be daily. It's a daily monitoring and measurement and also improvement. You can do adjustment on a daily basis. Okay, so that was the EC scenario. Now we are turning it on to the social CRM scenarios. With the social CRM, there are also some key principles. First of all, still, I mean, who are your target audience? If you are planning a campaign or something else, if you are building some sort of CRM tools, who you are engaging with. That's that will be the very, very first question you're asking yourself. And also, it's not only a generic target audience we are looking at. We're also looking at segmented target audience. How to segment them is also super, super important. But with the social CRM, the second thing look at is how to engage with them, right? So within EC, that's fairly easy because that's in a controlled environment. But with social CRM, because there are so many channels, so many different environments, probably in most cases, the content is super, super important. And the tools you use, the way you engage with consumers. And then, so the trigger is for them to be able to interact. So when they see the content, they want to follow up, right? They want to go to the next step. So that's super, super important. And then after, we recruit so many people through interesting content on different social channels, what to do next? That's also very, very important. Let's say we have a lot of consumer traffic coming in, but do you really have some good places to hold them? And then let's say we have a campaign, we have 500,000 people come in. What do? Do they come to our platform, to our mini program, or to our official account, just come here and then go, or or they want to stay, or we can keep engage them. So with that place, it's also very, very important. What's the journey? What's the lab? Probably the end point of a journey. That need to be super clear. Okay, with the typical consumer journey touch points, as you can see, we also when we look at these touch points, we also look at by consumer life cycle. So we start with that, so we know exactly if we look at people in different segments based on their life cycle, where do we target them? Where do we engage with them? So with awareness, probably, awareness side, we have most channels to use, right? Because they are like, it's kind of broadcasting, we try to attract as many people as possible. Then with the consideration side, then move on to purchase and loyalty. We have a highly focused or personalized strategies for different group of people. And now this is some examples I want to give. Just let's say within the WeChat social strategy, social SAM strategy, what do we do? What do we look at? These are just examples. So for example, with the new user penetration, we need to set certain goals because with the social SAM systems, environments, there are just too many things to look at, right? I mean, so to start with, you have to be highly focused on what you want to achieve. So we have certain goals to achieve, and with the certain goals, what are the focus strategies we want to do, and then how to measure our success within this movements or campaigns or whatever. And I want to give a more granular example on A/B testing. I think I want to probably emphasize on A/B testing in the social CRM environment because the goals are so variant. We don't really have, it's really hard to measure or to prove, the concepts are correct or not correct. So now I want to give an example on actually using A/B testing in the easy way to see from the data side to prove whether a certain move is successful or not. In this case, it's an A/B testing case on weak data. The scenario is we are building. This is a real case, right? A real case. We are building because we are building a mini program for our client. And one day, we are designing a new page on the mini program. But before we launch it, we want to know whether this new design, our target audience will like it or they will not like it. Because the change is big. It's a sort of relatively big change. It's sort of a big change. So we are not sure, whether this is okay, people will accept it or people will not accept it. So with data, we can actually easily to do an A/B testing. So that's first of all, we build the new page into the mini program, and then with data, we can control. We set up two groups of people, right? We have a control group. We also have a treatment group, and then with the two groups of people with some easy settings on with data, we can set up people either by random or either by target. With target is more like we are only targeting certain segment within a segment, and then we can create two groups or just general, very, very general. We're not looking at segment. We just have two very random group of people. One's control group, one's treatment group. Then we can set up the matrix just on with data. We don't have to do anything else. Just set up on with. Then we can set a date. Either normally, 7 days will be a minimal level to see whether there's any difference. We can have a 1 month to run the A/B testing. That'll be definitely more accurate. So the step one, we create a new experiment on with data. And secondly, when setting up the experiment, we look at what's timing, what we are tracking, what kind of consumer actions we are tracking, and then who we are tracking who we are targeting, right, through the settings. Lastly is the time period. And then after a few, like a period of time, let's say in this example is 1 week, we can already see the result. With the result, we can, as you can see from the dashboard, maybe it's a bit small, but you can see the We data actually is able to track consumer actions, not only to actually go on to this page, but their next moves. And then we can see the consumer dropout, and also where do they go from this page to the next page. And then we compare their performance with the old page or with the new page, which one actually can help to improve the consumer journeys. So this is a simple example I want to tell today with the A/B testing. Okay, a quick summary on the social. I know, because on the social side, there are just too many things to talk about. Probably today, if we just focus on data, I just gave you a quick example on how to use A/B testing. There are many other things to talk about. We can probably, later on we can have a quick discussion on that. Just a quick summary on that. The key foundations actually still consumer segmentation, and also with the consumer segmentation, we can deliver personalized messages or do a personalized engagement. In Chinese, called 千人千面, but we cannot do 1,000 people individually, but with different segments. That's the whole purpose. That's the main purpose of it. But with the social SAM, also there are some compared with EC, there are some advantages. For example, the very big advantage is the data actually can be much more granular than the EC data, because the channels are different. You the brand own a lot of engagement channels and data channels, and through the building the system, we can actually do our own tagging, which is we can build in the tagging functions, which can help us to collect data through consumer behaviors, right? So the data can be much more granular in compared with EC, but there are also the disadvantage of the social environment, which is data are very much fragmented. They are coming from all over the place, and then there are some fields are very small, and then in a lot of cases there are no consolidated data management systems, either CDP or good CRM, to consolidate all the data, to connect all the data and provide connected data analysis with business meanings. So in a lot of cases, maybe, if you want to do a campaign, you can't really have a clear view or overview of all the data available, which can help you to make decisions. So these are the disadvantage, which come to a conclusion that now more and more brands, they are actually putting a lot of resource on the CDP and CRM to try to consolidate all the data. And then it comes to the second question, right? And then if you have too many data, how can you find the data only useful to you for this specific moment very quickly, right? So that's a second question. So when building the data systems, these are the things we normally to consider. When we are helping our client to build systems, we always consider this kind of scenarios. How we can first of all to collect most of the useful data. Secondly, how we can display data very quickly. And another thing I want to mention is with consumer profiling. I know, if we just build our own data collection system, right, either through WeChat, mini programs, or maybe through some other platform, either online or offline, with sales data, with boutique data, with campaign. with QR code scanning, with all of that, even you have your own platform, a CRM platform, sometimes you still find that very difficult to do a consumer profile, especially their demographic properties. But with some help from Google Analytics and also from WeData, even some help from the EC platforms, you can actually use those data as a good reference to identify or to define your core and more, target audience group. So these are the areas to help you to do the segmentation. If you don't have a very good or enough data, good quality data to define different segments. And lastly is very, very importantly, with a very good tagging system and data consolidation, that's super, super important for the social CRM environment. A good tagging system, I want to just say a bit more on this, is not only because the data tagging normally come from two places, right? One is with automatic tagging. That means the tagging codes are built in within the system. Let's say for a mini program, someone click on something or go to certain pages or maybe add something to cart or do something. There's automatic tagging codes built in the system to grab that data and then store them into the database and display them in the data dashboard. But they are also another way of data tagging is to do a manual tagging. This is extremely useful in especially for brands who has offline boutiques or shops, or even with the sales advisors either online or offline. When they engage with the consumers offline, they can actually tag people through the conversations or through their own findings. So that's a second set of tagging system. So in a very, very ideal environment is we have both sides. We have automatic, we also have a customized. But the core thing is in designing the customized or manual tagging system, they need to be well categorized, right? So they cannot be too variant. Otherwise, you cannot really do a very efficient data analysis through the manual tagging system. Okay, this is one of our clients, Thomas. He's from Christie's. So I want to quote his line here. Is actually just to give you a little bit deep dive on the data side. Actually, with the social CRM and also especially using WeChat to collect data, only the back end is when we do the system design, just to have our considerations at the system level is not enough. Actually, working at an API level from the planning phase is and use a separate analytics tool for reporting is super, super important to have a good data management analytic to be able to dig out useful insights from data. So a light version of data collection from the backend of system actually will have their limitations. On measuring the data social CRM performance, I also provide an example here. So from this example, we can learn the following things. Basically, within the social CRM environment, I also understand that it's very difficult to do a benchmark. So benchmark normally in a social CRM environment is a benchmark with historical performance. You either do a year-on-year or month-on-month comparisons, right? Then you can track. In this example, it's tracking like 13 months tracking. So actually you can see a trend and then where the performance is, where there's a problem is the low performance, then we can move on to find out why. But to find out why, also sometimes it will come up with some problems because the traffic can come from different places, even using a QR code tracking identification. But sometimes you don't know where the traffic comes from. And also sometimes with the dropout rate, you don't really, you can see a dropout at a certain stage. You don't really know why there's a dropout because the data is not enough. So within that, A/B testing can always help with implementing new ideas and also to identify problems. So this is a tool I highly recommend us everybody to use. And also, if you can, once you have consumer segmentation in place, it's always better to do a segmented tracking, which is more accurate than a generic tracking. Okay. Lastly, I want to have probably spent. This is roughly, the end of today's, introduction on both EC and social CRM environment. But lastly, I want to just have a quick, probably 5 minutes, to introduce, to give you 2 cases, which our tech team has done before in helping our clients with the social CRM. So first one is Bulgaria. So we actually helping the Bulgaria with to build their certain CRM functions within their mini program. And also to help Bulgaria to track the data, to enrich their social CRM system and the data fields, help them to enrich their consumer profile. So with the functions, we help them to do first of all like a store locator, which is the interactive store locator, like a mini program. Also, we integrate DD car hailing service to go to store. So it's like an actual API connection to this build. Second one, we help the Bulgaria to do an online repair service for their 3 different product lines, right? And then that through all these build and functions, we actually track consumer behavior at each stage, and we also review, at what stage there is also improvement in consumer experience. And then lastly, we also help Bulgaria to run 2 different campaigns. One is the exhibition, one is another Chinese Valentine's Day campaign. With the campaign, we actually help to track consumer. This is more like segmented, and then we can see, with these campaigns, what kind of customers actually get attracted to these campaigns and who has actually stayed with the campaign for longer than usual. Then we can have, in addition to provide better services and then provide more traffic to the brand, we also have a better understanding of consumer behavior. A second case actually is with Christie's. Christie's, we started from 2019. We helped Christie's to build their first auction house mini program with Sam, and this project is still ongoing. From 2019, we built the MVP version of the mini program. Then every year is like a retainer. We do constant upgrades, improvement on pages, on design, and also on API connections, adding new functions, improve on existing functions, and also to improve the data on the data side as well. So with this, what I want to mention is this is a super complicated system. Within the big mini program frame, actually there are 3 different mini programs. One is with the art education, because a lot of auctions, the consumer need to be educated, and also we have private sales. Private sales is more towards the VIP service, and then to the high value customers, dedicated service to them. And also we have a more generic online bidding mini program, open to everybody to register and also to be able to bid every auction around the world from Christie's. You can sit in your sofa in China to actually place the bid live in London. So that's kind of, what the system does. But with that, behind that, there are loads of API connections, not only to Christie's systems. So it's not only on the functions, it's also on the data API connections. So this actually is both ways, right? So on one side is incoming connections through API on the auction information, like, the product information, the auction lot information, auction itself information, all that. And also there's exporting data connection, right, through API. Actually, those are with consumer behavior on the mini program. So with that, we actually built this very, very complicated system for Christie's. So which actually helped them a lot in understanding Chinese consumer behavior from their side. So then, in helping with engaging with Chinese consumers, which is like the China market is a much, much big potential market for them. So which already provided a very, very good insights when they are making decisions. So that's it. That's the end of today's presentation. Thank you very much. So if here is the QR code for my WeChat and also for our Fabernovel China's official account. So welcome to probably add my WeChat, ask questions or follow up. If you are interested in any points I'm talking about today, please ask questions or follow up with me at any time. You are very, very much welcomed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yan. We actually have a question from our friend, Miss Kate. She asked, is it okay to use GA in China?
Yes. It's GA is perfect. It's okay in China. We actually use GA for a lot of our development. Yeah, and the functions in GA4 just introduced, which actually there's to be honest, there's a little painful process to move from GA3 to GA4, but we are over it. Okay. And so now with GA4 there are actually more tools we can use and more insights we can dig out from the systems. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Yan.